This show is sponsored by Horizon HVAC, who you can count on for all of your heating and cooling needs. Today's episode is brought to you by Burns Roofing, your trusted roofing experts right here in Rhode Island. Whether you're in need of repairs, a roof full replacement, or just some professional advice, Burns Roofing has you covered. With their years of experience and commitment to quality, you can rest easy knowing your home is in good hands. Call Burns Roofing for all your roofing needs. We got Frank Leblanc in studio.
What's up, man?
Mindset Radio Podcast, man. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we did a podcast at Frank's studio a couple months ago. We had a great time, and I got to know Frank a little bit, and he got to know me. We kind of, it was a great platform, really good and professional setup. I remember leaving there and being like, they're doing it right. Like the video quality was amazing. The scheduling was really professional. What got you into podcasting?
Honestly, dude, same reason I'm down here right now. I went to JLC Live, which is a big construction convention. And, you get 2 days of classes that you can take while you're down there. And I took a class, and there was a couple of guys that were construction guys, and they had a podcast. And I started listening to their podcast. I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool. So I just decided, I was pitching the idea to a couple people, like, what do you think about this? And I ended up talking to my buddy John. And he was like, well, I got a podcast studio. I was like, what the fuck do you get a podcast studio? So he started a podcast for the mayor of Newburyport up North Shore, Massachusetts. And so he had the studio already set up. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just give this thing a run and see what happens. And
Yeah.
just been running with it since. And it just fits my purpose, man. Like, I got to give back to the trades. It's important to me. So, being able to talk about it, help some of these blue collar businesses grow and bring on some guests that can bring in some insight and, talk intelligently about business, what they've done, what they've succeeded at, what failures they've had, what kind of barriers they have, and then just try and connect them with people in my network to help them grow, help them build.
Yeah. And it's networking. It's like one of the best form of networking now.
Yeah.
It's like podcasting beats, going out, doing events. It beats anything. Because we have the ability now to sit down with people who we probably wouldn't have the opportunity to sit down with for a couple hours. But now you're allowed to give them a platform. You're giving yourself a platform, and you're also, creating this network to, like you said, where you're kind of getting into their group now too. So if you hit on a common topic or, find out that you have common ground, it's like, oh, well, what about your, it's just all about linking everybody up and kind of just working together.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get to hit this platform that reach people that you would have never been able to reach before.
Yeah.
And getting to know people, man, getting to know you on the podcast. That was awesome. I love that shit. People get to see that. It's genuine. It's real.
Yeah.
And then even with business, I have a kitchen and bath design company. It's another avenue for me to approach in sales. If I want to get a new contractor in, I could be like, hey, what's up, man? I own this kitchen and bath design company, but I also have a podcast. I'd love to have you on. And then I can bring them on and talk to them, get to know them a little bit, build that relationship, and then hopefully do business together.
Have you been able to use your podcast for marketing purposes?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So are you clipping out certain things and kind of using them for your marketing purposes for Instagram, Meta, stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So because John, who has the studio that I rent, he is also my marketing guy for Seacoast Cabinet. He does all my SEO. So he's able to take all of that content and use all of that content to do it. And at the same time, Seacoast Cabinet is the one that's footing the bill for all that. So Seacoast Cabinet is a sponsor of the podcast. So it's good. It gives me advertising and it keeps the kind of ball rolling for us. You know what I mean?
Let's start off. When did you get into the trades, and what was the first thing that you started doing?
Well, so I was 15. I was a sophomore in high school. I lasted about 3 months. I got expelled. At the time, I was already on juvenile probation caught a gun charge when I was 13. I caught a possession charge. I caught a couple of assault charges. So I was on kind of thin ice. My PO was all ready to lock me up at that point. And I get expelled from high school, and he was like, listen, you got 2 weeks to get a job or I'm just going to lock you up to 18. I can't have you running around on the streets being an idiot. So I lied on a job application to a furniture store about my age. I told them I was 18. I was only 16. And I got in there, and I had a couple of trades guys that kind of took me under their wing and introduced me to it. I didn't take it serious then. I didn't really care. I was just trying to keep my PO off my back and make legal money. And it just kind of turned into something where it was something I kind of started taking some pride in and really doing some research on. And I got really good at what I was doing. And, it kind of turned into like that sense of purpose for me, kept me off the street. And then I had kids young and, just kind of, then it was like, all right, well, now I really got to take this shit serious because try and be a good dad, try and do good at this
Yeah.
thing. You know what I
And
mean?
you need to, in order to like really make good money in the trade, you have to take it serious. You have to get really good
Yeah.
at what you do. What kind of stuff were you doing in the streets? Like, were you making money like selling weed? Like, what were you doing?
Whatever we could, man. Yeah, robbing people.
Yeah.
I was violent. That was my biggest thing. Like I loved to fight. I was violent. So there was a lot of drugs being moved around. Ecstasy was a big thing.
Did you guys get
Um,
into the perk and the opiates?
Unfortunately, man, my crew was one of the first ones that brought it over the Mass border into New Hampshire. It sucks. It sucks to say, but it's reality.
I can't think of. I mean, I'm sure I can, but there's a lot of people that are in that same situation. You know what I mean? Like a lot of entrepreneurs that I notice are they start off with some kind of, not doing well in school, not following the everyday norm and like, going to class. Like I didn't do anything in school.
Yeah,
I graduated because a teacher took a liking to me and really pushed me to make sure that I got my high school diploma. If I didn't have that teacher there, I would have never graduated. I stayed back. I did the 5-year plan, always suspended, almost got expelled. Same kind of story, and always was selling weed and selling jerseys or selling this or selling that. It's just like I always was trying to figure out how to do stuff that they were telling me, doing the opposite of what they were telling me to do. Not because I was trying to be a bad kid. It's just like nothing made sense to me. Like
yeah,
I always was like, why am I here? There's no point. Like I'm not going to use any of this stuff.
right.
And I figured that out at a young age. And I was just like, this isn't what I want to do. I don't want to go to school. And there's got to be more stuff out there. But going back to like the opiate epidemic, man, and like, that's something that I battled with personally, but it was huge in Rhode Island. And I know it was
Yeah.
huge out
Oh
there.
yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
Mass, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, it hit the scene hard,
Hard and fast, dude.
fast,
Fast.
man.
Like all of a sudden, like you see a bundle of dope, and then a week later, you got 100 people hooked, and it's like, holy shit! Like, where did this even come from?
Yeah, dude. It
You know?
started for me, it started like, the groups that I was in, it was started with like the Perk Fives, right?
Yeah,
And then the OC80s came out. Those were like a hurricane in the streets. Like
yeah,
I remember just people that I never would have thought would be dabbling in any kind of drugs were all of a sudden buying packs of OC80s, and then the 30s came out, and then the pill hoppers, like going from doctor to doctor and
yep,
going out of state and bringing them back, and
yep.
it was madness.
It's crazy.
It was
And
crazy,
then that
man.
shit just got too expensive, man. And
Yeah.
fucking heroin was right there and easy to access and cheap, and it
Yeah.
just happened fast.
I would love to do a documentary, and I know it's been beat the problem is, and it's not a problem, but it's been beaten to death. The
Yeah,
topic has been just completely saturated, but, like, I feel like everybody has their own unique little story that almost adds up to pretty much
yeah.
the overall story, right? It's like, you know, greed got out of control. These doctors were making so much money. The
So
people on the
much.
streets were making so much money, and a lot of families were affected, man.
Yeah, and then big pharma just made billions and billions of dollars off of that stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like it's just crazy, man. It's crazy how it all happened. We started drinking and smoking weed young. You know what I mean? And like thought that was it. And now, mind you, like I've been going to treatment centers since I was a kid. Like my older brother was locked up in a treatment center at 13. Like most people were going to soccer games on the weekends, and like I was going to rehabs. So like I was exposed to drugs and alcohol young. I mean, very very young.
Were you going there because of your brother, you were
Yeah,
saying?
to visit shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like I was exposed to that stuff. None of that stuff was new to me. And actually, when Dare, like, so George Winchell was my Dare officer up in New Hampshire. Really good guy. He's actually the one that popped me with the gun. He would have these like dare classes, right? And like he'd be talking about the price of stuff and all this stuff, and I'd be sitting in the back like, you're fucking about 10 years out of date, pal."
Oh, with the pricing?
Yeah, prices and like how it's moved and like all this
The
other shit.
names
I'm
of it and
like,
stuff.
yeah, I'm like, man, you got it all wrong right now. Feel
Do
bad.
you think Dare helped or hurt?
It probably didn't help a lot of people,
Statistically, it hurt because it actually gave children the information that they never had before.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but would they have gotten that information from someone like me without it? And is that better
maybe,
or is that
yeah.
worse? You
Well,
know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
I think
It's
the percentage would have been lower if it was just a student to student.
yeah,
But here you have a grown adult wearing what we're supposed to look authority. He's wearing a uniform telling you there's crack, there's cocaine, there's marijuana. So somebody might just know that there's marijuana, but now they know, let's find out what crack is. Let's find out what cocaine
It's
and
true.
heroin and this and that. So it opened up Pandora's box. They did a
Yeah.
lot of psychology studies on the DARE
Interesting.
program, and it turned out that it actually made things worse.
Yeah, I could see that. I understand that, and I'm sure there's science behind it to prove it. For me, wasn't so much dare, but it was the guy that was, you know, George wanted to make a difference. He
Yeah.
became a dare officer because like he wanted to help.
Yeah.
You know, he saw us because like Salem, New Hampshire is a gateway from Lawrence, Mass. You know, so he saw the issue and like he was just trying to like do
Do this
something to
thing.
help. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, if there's data that suggests that, you know, it didn't help and it hurt, I'm sure he's beating himself up. But he helped me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He did a lot for me. He tried his hardest to keep me in school, to keep me out of trouble. Like, you know, he was disappointed when he found out that I had that
Mhm.
gun. It's just right person trying to do the right thing,
Right.
you know.
What did you have that gun for? Were you just, was it protection, or were you just, was you were
I was
robbing with
just
it?
an idiot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being an idiot with it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a crazy story actually. Like I found out so the gun had a longer rap sheet than I did, you know,
Jesus.
and like it was used in all this shit, dude. A fucking
And you're handling
attempted
it.
murders, dude,
Oh
armed
no.
robberies. Like the cops have been looking for this gun forever. So I found out this dude ended up with it. And this other kid called me one day and he's like, hey, I'm not going to name names, but this dude just fucking had to stash that pistol. It's out in this fucking little shed out in this backyard of some dude's house. Like, it's like, I'm going to go grab it. I'm like, oh, show me where it is. And he's like, all right. So he brought me out there to show me. I beat him up and I took it.
And
Left him in the shed. And then, yeah, I ran around with that thing for a while, dude. Did a lot of stupid shit with it. And
yeah, because at that age, it's like when you have a gun, it's like, all right, I'm the man now. Like,
yeah, right. Right.
don't come, dude. She was talking. We had a conversation the other day about like how much dumb stuff I used to do when I was a kid. Right? We used to. Well, we saw this video on Twitter where these two girls were hanging out of a car and they were doing donuts in the middle of the road, right? And they were just like drifting, and an Escalade just comes barreling, doing like 90 miles an hour,
Oh,
and just smashes right into the two girls that are outside hanging out of the car. They go flying instantly. Everyone was killed. But she was like, what is it? What makes people do that? And it's like, I think when you're younger, you just feel invincible. There's like nothing
yes.
can touch you.
Yeah.
I remember doing the dumbest things, jumping out on cars that, dude, like with no weapons, jumping out in the middle of the road, dude, going to attack a car with 4 kids in it. I have
Oh,
no
yeah.
idea who's in it,
Dude.
right? Fighting everybody in the car.
Yeah.
Thankfully, like nothing really bad happened. But like, why did we do that when we were young? It's just like we didn't know the consequences that
Yeah.
could have happened. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's like you're almost living in a movie. Like you
yeah,
think there's a respawn.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like or a video game. Like you think there's a respawn. You don't and that's the thing is that like, I was just talking to my buddy Eric on the podcast last week and like I didn't get bit by the opioid bug, right? Like I was never an addict. Never happened to me. Been around it my whole life. I've seen people die, I've seen people shoot, like been around it my whole life. Never got into it. It was never my thing. And but like for me, I was violent. And dude, like a lot of my friends died, right? Like a lot of my people didn't make it out. Like I'm one of very few that did. And I feel like I had no regard for life or death whatsoever. Like you talk about like we're just crazy, we think we're invincible. Dude, I was fucking crazy. Like I had no regard. I could care less if I lived or died
yeah.
at any day.
I know.
And like I didn't get bit by the bug, right? Everybody else did. But I was the craziest one out of everybody. I'm the one that should have died early. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like I make it out, like I respawned, and it's
Yeah, it's
like a lot
crazy.
of people didn't. And it's just it's crazy, man. And
Yeah,
that's what I think about, like, we talk about the bonus round, how like we're in the bonus round of our life, like
True.
probably shouldn't be here, made it out. Now this is just the bonus round,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, how the hell that happened?
it takes so long to finally understand life.
Yeah,
And I wish
sure.
I wish we could have understood all this stuff when we were
At least in
25,
our
23,
20s.
like at least
Yeah.
in our early 20s, even late 20s. But like when you really start getting it, it doesn't happen until like you're 30, like mid 30s, late 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you start putting everything together, and I guess that's just how life is, man. You know, you're willing to
Yeah,
take risks when you're younger, and when you're older, it starts slowing down, and that's when you kind of get your second attempt at life to do things smarter and utilize those things that you learned and fucked up with
for sure.
to like do things the right way now.
Yeah,
You know, like now I never thought that I'd get out of the cycle that I was in. I was in so deep, man, and I thought for sure I was like, I don't see my life going anywhere else, but
yeah,
you know, something happened where it just like clicked and here we are. You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's wild, man.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy. I thought by 40 I'd be a professional gangster by now. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like literally, if you would have asked me that when I
for
was
sure.
15, 20 years old, I'd be like, yeah, I'll be a gangster by
Yeah.
40.
That's what was appealing. Like the Donnie Brasco movies, the good like the Goodfellas, all those movies were so appealing because it's like these dudes are making money like crazy and they're
Yeah.
doing they have friends, they're going out, they're having good dinners, they're this. It's just they 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 made it look like it was like, all right, that's what I want to do.
You know what appealed to me about a lot of that type of stuff, like even in hip hop music and in like those old gangster movies and all that type of stuff, was the loyalty, the
Yeah, me
respect, the
too.
integrity of character. Like that's the shit that I loved. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's what like really turned me on to those things because society wasn't that way. You know, like you never narked, like you never told it, you never ratted, right? And that's how we were. And we were loyal to each other. Like I would have taken prison time, I would have taken a bullet for any one of my people at any point. And like that's what I loved about all of that stuff. And then you get to live that life and make money and drive these fancy cars. And it's
Mhm.
like, that's me. That's who
Yeah.
I want to be, you know?
Yeah.
And then you realize that the people that you thought you would take time for probably wouldn't do the same thing for you.
Probably.
And that,
Regardless, I would have done it all over. You know what I mean? I would have done
yeah,
it anyways,
yeah.
you know?
Dude, I was thinking about this story the other day. There was, I won't name any names, but actually, I got to be careful how I say this because I don't want anybody to get in trouble. But there was a story going around town, right, out in my town, that there was 100 grand buried in a shed,
Oh, man.
right? Few people heard it. I was one of the ones that heard it. I didn't know the exact location of the shed, but I had a friend who did, and we didn't think anything of it. Like we me and my friend were like, all right, we got to find out where this shed is. I guess the guy ended up going away for embezzlement. He took a bunch of money from his company that he worked with and he stashed it in his shed. He ended up getting popped. He went away and did 10 years, but he was gone and the money was
Somewhere.
supposedly in the shed.
Right.
So I remember one day waking up and my buddy comes in the room and he's like, dude, so and so got it. He grabbed it. And I was like, no way. I mean, 100 grand back then, dude, when I think I was like 25, 22, 23. That was a lot of money,
Yeah.
like a lot of money. So I'm like, there's no way, dude. Sure as shit. Like a week later, this dude rolls up in a brand new car, right?
Oh,
Brand new
man.
car. He's going out to the clubs, just money everywhere, dude. Buying this person that. And we're like, this motherfucker, he really did. To go back to it, I think the guy ended up getting out. Some shit went down, and it hasn't been a good situation for him since.
I bet.
Right?
That's the first thing I was thinking about. Like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this dude's not doing life. He's coming home at some
Yeah,
point.
he did, man. But like those were always the type of things that I had my eyes out for when I was younger, was just that kind of money that was fast, you know, quick, let's get in and out and then done. But that money never works, dude. It
Yeah.
never works. I've made a lot of illegitimate money and none of it ever stuck. It always was spent terribly. Nothing was invested.
Yeah.
I probably lost more money than I like, dude, because like drugs, money, and hustling, while doing the drugs, they don't mix. I
Right.
used to hide money all over the place, dude. I used to like have this system where I had PVC. I'd cap it on both ends. I'd go bury it in my backyard, and I'd put like flags where the PVC was. And I've lost $10,000 here to this day in that yard. There's money sitting. There was this brick wall that was built, and I always used to put it near this wall. And there's money still there that's unrecovered. And it's
That's
like, dude,
hilarious.
some of the shit, man, we used to do. But anyway,
It's funny. Someone's gonna hear this podcast and like
They're gonna go,
tomorrow.
yeah, and I know
someone's
who-
gonna call and be like, "I got a bunch of holes in my
Yeah,
yard."
and I know who's gonna hear it, and they know exactly where it is, man. It's but it's somebody has the house now. It's like you can't go there. It's just like, I don't know, but yeah, man, it's wild. Some of the
It's
shit is
crazy.
wild. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
But so what area did you grow up in?
Salem, New Hampshire.
Salem. Salem was bad, dude. So
Salem's
when I
bad,
got
dude.
into the union, most of the really bad drug addicts were from that area.
Yeah.
Like the younger kids that were jumping in the union that had addiction or just had beat addiction were from that area. So I got into DC 35, and I know that we used to go up to that area a lot because they had like a headquarters up there where they did a lot of the training.
Yep.
But yeah, I've heard stories from New Hampshire just being, because I think there's not a lot to do out there.
Yeah, I mean, Salem is like a little city in New Hampshire, right? The problem with Salem is that it touches Lawrence. And like everything used to come up actually from down here and hit Lawrence. And then it stayed in Lawrence forever. But then it just started kind of coming across the border. And Salem's like right there. Main corridor is 93, then Route 28. It just comes up through Salem. And Salem just, we call it North Lawrence now. It just turned into like North Lawrence. It's not a bad area. There's rural areas, there's wooded areas. I grew up in a wooded area, so it's not like a big city. It's nothing like that, but it was just one of those areas that just got hammered, man,
Infiltrated.
just completely dismantled by opioids.
Where area were you from?
So I went to high school near Sunapee Lake.
Oh, okay.
So I was further up north.
Yeah.
Than Salem. Salem's closer to Massachusetts.
Oh,
I
okay.
was closer to Vermont and Maine.
So you were in the woods more.
But those areas were also heavily impacted too
Yep.
because there isn't much to do. So people would resort to drugs, and when the opioid hit, it took a lot of lives because that's people were fiending for it. That 12 months out of the year, there's really not much to do, so they were overdosing left and right.
Yep.
And it's our government planted them in specific areas
Yep.
to do that.
Yep.
To thrive like that. The drugs they took over. They started in mining villages. They started in places where doctors would need to prescribe for pain.
Yep.
For pain, so they say.
Yeah, so they can make the most money. I mean, if they place strategically,
It was
doctors in those right
strategic.
places, they
Mhm.
knew. It's
Yep.
just like the streets, man. It's like where you're gonna sell the most shit. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
And somehow they did it legally.
They did.
Yeah.
You
They
know?
did.
And our government is actually the real drug dealers. And the sad part is the ones that are selling it, they need the money the most, but they're the ones that are truly penalized for what our government created.
Yep.
So it's a hard concept to actually absorb. Who's
Yeah.
the bad guy really?
Yeah.
Somebody just got Ashley, if you could pull this up, somebody just got arrested or they got arrested back in 2020 or 2021. They sold a bad batch of coke to a 35-year-old mom, laced it with fentanyl, and she ended up dying. And it's the first case in Rhode Island that they actually charged the dude with murder, capital murder, and he got 40 years. He was sentenced to 40 years the other day. So I know it was the first case in Rhode Island. Yeah, right here. Tucket man to serve 40 years in state prison for death of 35-year-old mother under the Kristen's law. So I think the lady that was killed, her name was Kristen. And yeah, man, he sold a bag of coke to her, put fentanyl in it, and she died on the spot.
Well, it sucks because you don't even know if he's the one that cut it. You know what I mean?
He admitted it.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess his name was Morris. Yeah, Waylick Morrison. He admitted to the detectives that he actually crushed up the fentanyl and put it in the coke, and that's it. If he would have just kept his listen, good. I'm glad, right?
Yeah, right. It's a good thing.
But dude, he
smarten up, pal.
he snitched on himself, dude.
Right.
I don't understand. I watch all this stuff and it's like, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
If you get popped, dude, like the best thing to do is just say, give me a lawyer, whether you're right or you're wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Cause even if you're in a position where you get arrested and like, you're like, shit, like this is an accident. You guys got the wrong guy or whatever the case is.
Just keep your mouth shut.
Let your lawyer do the work.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
Yeah.
And that's like my hope in this, right? Is that he was, felt guilty and admitted to it and said, you know what, I fucked up.
Yeah.
I killed this chick. I'm going to take the time.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that's the case. He's probably just an idiot,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd like to think that, try to be optimistic that he was feeling some regret and said, you know what, it's my fault and I'm going to take my time.
And again, though, this is one case, one guy sold to one woman and she died.
Right.
The government brought fentanyl, brought all of those perks, brought all of the drugs, and how many deaths have we had from that?
It's crazy.
That's the bigger picture. That's the larger picture.
What do you think it's going to take to change stuff like this? So we were listening to a podcast last night, and they were talking about Dubai and how like clean Dubai is. Like 50 years ago, Dubai was nothing. It was
Right.
sand.
Sand.
And they built it out of the ground. And if you even bring drugs near that place, you're going to do some serious time. If you have a car, if you get into a fender bender in Dubai and you don't fix your car within like weeks, they'll take your car. Your car's done. They'll take it. They require you to fix your car and to do things properly. Around here in America, you get an offender bender, you don't ever need to fix
Duct
it.
tape.
Yeah,
Right.
put some duct tape on it, you're good to go. But in Dubai, they're holding themselves to a higher standard, and they're like, we're not allowing that crap on our roads.
Yeah.
But to that point, that's why Dubai is so nice.
Yeah.
The laws that they have in place, if you sell drugs, they'll kill you.
Yeah.
Like if you get into a fight or if you do something like armed robbery, you're dead. They'll just you're done. So does it take that kind of extreme action to get us to a point in time where, you know, we need, because right now we need to do better as a country, 100%. I think
For
everybody can. I mean, whether you're left, whether you're right, like we got to do better right now. The problem is like, how do we start implementing these type of things now when there's already laws in place? There's already a system that we follow. Everybody already owns guns, like which is fine, by the way. But like, how do we get to a point like that? Is that ever even a possibility?
I feel like it boils down to accountability, man, and like what people want. You know, around here, like even remember getting popped as a kid, right? I got popped for I think I had like a half ounce of weed on me, and I had 2 pipes on me. One was a brand new glass piece I had literally just left from buying. I was so excited about it, and I had this
remember
little
those days.
shitty little metal piece, right? And the cop took my glass piece. The only thing that was on the report was the weed and the metal piece. So I'm like, this motherfucker took my glass piece. Like, if you're not going to hold people accountable
Right.
and, you know, have them, everybody follow the same rules and do all this stuff, then, you know, it's never going to change. But everybody has to want to have that change. In a place like Dubai, you know, there's a lot of influential, very wealthy people out there, you know, so they're going to run that place like they would run their own living room, you know. But if you start letting lower income, like so somebody comes in and says, you know what, we need to have low income housing in here, it's going to change the whole dynamic. And then the low income housing area is going to be held to a different standard than the rest of Dubai until that creeps in, you know. So it's like, you know, how do you fix it? You can drop a bomb and start over.
Well, that's it. I think because they have a fresh start, they're able to implement these laws.
Right,
You know what I mean? They're able to kind of go off of like what they've seen in our area and being like, okay, that's what we don't want. That's what we don't want.
Utopia in their own sense.
Yeah, but how long is that going to last?
And
with all the people over there that have all the money in the world, there's a lot of greed, there's a lot of money. You know, how long is it going to last before you have a kingpin in Dubai that's pushing a bunch of weight, you know, or, you know, some kind of crime family that comes in that, you know, is doing that type of thing and they're just as wealthy and just as influential as everybody else. Like, I don't think it'll last forever.
I'll tell you when the legal money runs out.
Truth.
Yeah,
That's when.
That's
So
right.
so they were also talking, you know, Dubai is kind of trying to get ready for the for oil to be non-existent because at the rate we're going right now, I think they're predicting like 150 years there's going to be no more oil. So they're putting themselves in a position to where they are going to be able to survive and thrive without oil.
Yep.
When that does happen and when they have to resort to a lower end of society and when the money is not flowing like it used to, that's when corruption is going to start happening. Yep. That's when people are going to start thinking of different ways to make money and they're going to start pushing those buttons. They're like, oh, if we do it just this once, then, you know, just to bring this amount of money in so we can do this, then, you know, that's, I think that's how it's going to happen.
Boils down to greed, man. Paper.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, I'm not a flashy guy. You know, I'm not a super wealthy man. I'll never be a flashy person, regardless of how much money I have. Money doesn't really hold a ton of weight for me as far as that stuff goes. Like, I do okay. I'm not hurting by any means, but, and I plan to be wealthy. Right. But like, I don't know. I'm good with my beat up old pickup truck, but once you start bringing money in and the greed comes in and people want to make more and more and more, it's just a vacuum chamber,
Yeah.
you know? And as that money goes up, man, shit comes in from the bottom, you know? And it's like,
What's your overall definition of success?
first and foremost, man, just being a good father. Like, I want to, legacy is important to me. How my name is spoken when I'm gone. Like, I think that's really important. So as long as like, the people that are closest at my casket on that day talk good things about me, and there's a lot of people there that I've done things for, like that's success to me. I think that being a good father and like, making sure I raise two good young men to come into this world, I think that's success to me. And building, a business and a company that is helps everybody, employees to buy their first house, to buy their cars, to raise their families, and to be able to, build this thing and bring more and more people in to just help it grow and help those people grow. For me, that's success. I don't really need a lot. I don't come from much. But for me, like I just want to be comfortable and not have to worry, be able to travel, do my thing. I'll always work. I'm a
Yeah.
workhorse. Like I love to work.
Yeah.
I'll always do that. But successful life, like financially for me, is just freedom.
Yeah.
You know?
Freedom and spending time with family, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you talk to anybody that's like super wealthy now, they'll tell you straight up, it's like, spend time with your family.
Yeah.
Like family, spend time with your kids, go fishing, do the things that you can do when you're even not rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what we're really trying to master. It's because we want all these things. We want, the campers, which we're talking about and this and that. But to me, those are things that like bring family together closer, having those trips out with family and stuff. But like, we want to be able to go to Florida whenever we want. We want to be able to go here. We want to go there and go out to dinner without having to worry about how much the bill is, or
Yeah.
that for me is success. Being able to kind of live life on your own terms. You know what I mean? Like, like you said, I'm not really too worried about like being super wealthy. And like, I think it's going to happen by default just because of my work ethic and what I'm able to provide and what I do. Like,
Yeah, me too.
For me, like nothing is ever good enough. So I think just having that mindset, it's like I'm always going to be pushing for more and more and more, which by default is going to end up giving us a really good life, which already is.
It is.
But
yes.
if I were to say now, like I'm already happy. I have everything I want. I have a beautiful fiance. I have great kids. I have a nice house. And right now it's like we built the foundation.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make it sustainable, right?
Yep.
It's like success is not about what you can obtain in that moment. It's about how long you can keep it.
Yeah.
That's really for me, is the true definition of success.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think that's great. I feel like, everyone says money doesn't bring happiness, and it definitely doesn't. It's like if you can't be content, like it was actually explained to me really well. Actually, in that episode you were talking about on the podcast with Candace, you have this happiness threshold, right? And like this is where you are happiness wise. And like when you get success or like you get the promotion at work or you get that big job or whatever it is, like you get happy. But once that wears off, you go back down to that threshold, right? And the only way to move that threshold is gratitude. Like if you can be happy with nothing, then your threshold always goes up. And all those other things bring you quick happiness, right? But they bring you back down to that higher threshold if you could just be grateful for the things that you do have.
Yeah.
If you can be
Great
grateful,
point.
just I woke up this morning and I fucking took a breath. I stretched. I got in the sauna. I went to the gym. I got this great business that I'm running. I got these employees that are building their families and their lives from what I'm creating. Like I'm grateful for that shit.
Yeah.
And if when the money comes and like, you get the better house and the nicer car and all that type of stuff, great. I love that, but I don't need that to be happy.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm just glad to fucking be here, man. I
Yeah.
shouldn't be,
Yeah. I
So
know
it's
we're in the
like-
same boat. I know, for real. It's
like,
yeah.
I'm in Rhode Island right now on a podcast.
Yeah,
You know how many
yeah.
people would tell you this would never fucking happen?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I'm just,
Just having
and that's
fun, dude.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
those experiences that you talk about the family, like, yeah, the camper is like one of those things. Like, is it going to bring you happiness? No. But those fucking experiences, bro, like that stuff, that will bring you happiness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Experience is it. At the end of the day, when we're fucking buried, we're in a pine box. Hopefully mine's like nice rosewood, something sick. But when I'm in that rosewood box,
Yeah.
the camper doesn't fucking matter. the experiences that I
Memories.
had with the kids and like going to these different things and doing all this different stuff, like that's what matters. That's the shit I want to talk about.
Mm.
I don't want to talk about the camper. I want to talk about the time we got stuck in a mud hole or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's it, dude.
That
It's
is,
the
it's
stories that you
true.
have that you
Yep.
can sit around a campfire with your family when
Yeah.
you're 60, 70 years old and be like, hey, you guys remember
Laugh
this?
about it.
Yeah.
You guys remember that? That
Yeah.
feeling, like I know everybody has that same feeling when they're doing something that reminds them of something that they did that made them happy.
Yeah.
It's like
Mm.
that feeling that you get. It's like that is just as successful and as rich as I can think.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
The
there's a
money's
lot-
the money's the byproduct.
There's a lot of stuff going on right now on Instagram. Have you seen that morning routine video?
No.
So there's a morning routine video that's going super viral. It's got like billions and billions of views. And I put a good word to it. It's like success porn, right? Hear me out. Now, Ash, pull up that video because I want to play it really quick. And I want to kind of break down what I'm saying. No, not this one, the actual one by what's his name? Ashton Hall.
Yeah, Ashton Hall.
Yeah, play that one, right? And I want
He's-
to kind of dig into it a little bit because there's a psychological aspect to this and how these guys are selling these courses and giving this persona of a lifestyle that they live, but really behind the scenes what they're doing is a ton of work. They didn't get there by accident. It's by design. They either have an investor behind them that is pushing this because they're like, listen, if we put $1 million behind this guy and put him in an Airbnb and make his life to be super, super unobtainable, and here it is right here, and get it to a point where people can watch it and they want this, then guess what? We
We
have
win.
a product.
Yeah.
We have a product that now we can sell and say, hey, Frank, do you want to live like this?
Right.
Well, just sign up to my course. It's $5,000 a week and I'll show you how I can live like this. But watch this. This video is going super, super viral right now. And I want to just touch on it. Go ahead. Since this video is made, by the way, that water brand has gone up like 80% in value. Yeah, crazy.
Marketing at its finest.
Preaching about the arrival of Christ. Thank you.
Isn't it crazy? So, all right, Ash, now pause it because I want to play this spoof right after this. Because there's like people branching off and making their own versions, which are freaking hilarious.
I bet.
Are
Dude,
funny.
so funny. But my point about this is, to me, this is a way to get into the younger generation's mind and say, hey, this is how you could be, right? Sign up to what I have, which all they do is say, work out, right? Because like I know a lot of people who have fell into this trap and they have given $5,000, $10,000 for these courses. And what they get is literally just somebody, I guess, holding them accountable and saying, just eat like this, go to the gym twice, 3-4 times a week. And you can have what I have. But it's realistically setting the bar to a point where people don't think they have to do labor work anymore.
Mm.
It's like, oh guys, forget about that blue collar stuff. Like we can make a living just doing this, which I think is doing a complete disservice to the trades and to what people actually need to be thinking about. Like it's a little bit unrealistic to actually live like that. You know what I mean? And like I said, this guy's got major money behind him
After
and it's
decades of work.
and it's designed
Yeah.
to do this. But I just find it fascinating that it's kind of, you don't see videos like this in the trades, right? Or how hard it is to wake up at
That's what we
4:30 in
should
the
do, is
morning,
make a trade spoof
freezing.
of it.
Yeah.
That would be, dude, that would be awesome. But yeah, man, it's just what do you think about the current state of like where the coaching landscape is going right now?
I mean, at the end of the day, man, like, yeah, something like this might teach you how to be more disciplined, how to be consistent with what you're doing, to wake up early, get after it, get your workout in, get to work, all that type of stuff. Like, that's great. But what they're not showing, they're showing the fucking tip of the iceberg of it. You know what I mean? It's like, It takes so much hard work, unless you're lucky, unless you're born into fucking, some oil company family or something like that. Like, it takes a lot of work to get to that point,
Hmm.
and what they're not showing is the work and the effort that went into like getting to that point.
Yep.
I know wealthy people, and I've watched those people work, and they will outwork anybody. And from coming from me, that's a bold statement. Like, there's not a lot of people that will outwork me. These people have outworked me, and their success has shown it. A little bit of luck in here, a little bit of risk, that type of stuff, but like, they've worked their asses off to get where they're going. It doesn't take a video, it doesn't take a coaching thing, it doesn't none of that stuff really matters. If you're
Yeah.
not disciplined, if you're not fucking consistent, and if you don't put the work in, you ain't going nowhere. I can make you a video to teach you that if you want, but it's not gonna look like this.
Mhm.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hmm. No, that's my point. That's my point. It's like they're skipping the part where this guy might have worked a job, an actual job.
Right.
They're skipping the point of like the actual importance of becoming a young man and graduating high school and finding a trade and finding something that you like to do
Right.
to be able to monetize it, or even go work at a stop and shop for a year to
Right.
to make a few bucks to be able to go chase something that you really want to do.
Yeah.
That type of stuff I think is really important to say, is because, for someone to get to that point, and I'm not saying it's impossible because it most certainly is, but there's a lot of back end work that needs to go into it, which
Sure.
includes consistency. Waking up, at 4:30 in the morning when it's 10 degrees out in Massachusetts, having to drive to freaking Boston. I
Boston.
used to have to make that trip from here to Boston every day, man.
Yeah.
4 hours a day driving to work and back. So like, yeah, I guess my point is just, the consistency aspect needs to be, I think, hit a little bit more.
Yeah.
And people need to definitely understand that.
Well, this just touches on that instant gratification that everybody
Yeah,
wants.
for sure.
You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, if this is the life you want, we only get one shot here, man. Like, we get so many breaths in this life. Like, we only get one shot. If you want to do this, go do this. That's fine. But there's also nothing wrong with the dude that works 60 hours a week in fucking steel toe boots that's building this fucking country, that's
Yep.
putting these roads in, that's putting these buildings up, that's running the electrical, that's doing the plumbing. It's hard work, and you're never going to be a millionaire doing that. But like, you have purpose, you're making a difference, and you're putting something into this country. The fuck is this guy doing?
Hmm.
Showing like what kind of water you should be buying and what kind of bags you should be wearing and like all this other shit. Like, to me, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The tool belt that you wear, like, I might be a little biased about that, but
Yeah.
like, there's something. It doesn't have to. Life doesn't have to look like this. This doesn't have to be what success looks like to me.
Yeah.
So do you think this is setting our future generations up for failure? Because, social media is a huge part of our children's lives. Do you think that that's going to change the way they feel? Maybe they'll get to a point where they're like, I have to work and I'm never going to get there. So then depression hits, and, they're never going to feel like they size up or they matter in this world because they're not doing what they see online. I mean, this is deeper than
That's a huge point.
For
it's
sure.
a deep subject that needs to be touched on. A lot of kids are dealing with depression just because they don't look like the girls or look like the guys that they're seeing online. So this is another step to that.
Suicide and depression in youth, teens is through the fucking roof, and it's
Yeah,
just growing.
it
And I'm
is.
sure that has a lot to do with it. I mean, I'm sure it's not everything, right? But I think that it has a lot
Dude, I
to
bet
do
you it's
with it.
pretty
It
close. I
does.
bet you it's probably 80%.
I bet you it's a high percentage for
Yeah,
sure.
probably.
Yeah, because
You know?
everyone's always comparing them. I mean, as it is, you compare yourself in life, but when you have snippets of people's lives where you think that's their everything all the time, like
Yeah.
their life is always good, they're always vacationing or they're always doing this and none of the work, then it starts to ruin how you're feeling about yourself.
Yeah.
And that depression's a motherfucker, man.
Oh,
It'll
yeah,
kill you
for
real
sure.
quick. So yeah, it is.
I think
messing up.
that what's raw and what's real and what's the things that are boiled down to nothing are starting to become a little bit more obvious, and people are starting to kind of see that a little bit more. And I think that you can see it with the administration that's in right now.
Yeah.
Who is in office and why they voted for this man, because they feel as though is what he's talking about and what he's trying to do is real.
Mm.
outside, if you look at all the politicians, they promise, and nobody ever takes actions on the things that they say they're going to do,
Yeah.
or it takes them years to do it.
Exactly.
Right. And then this administration comes in and it's day one getting things done that he said he was going to get done. I think that it shows that people are starting to realize and appreciate reality and the raw truth of things, regardless of what you believe in the administration. Like, it is what it is, but like they've done the things that they say they were going to do for the reasons that they got voted in to do them, and it's like, maybe that's a good indication that people are starting to kind of pull that veil down and see what's real and appreciate that and want that instead of shit like this.
Yeah. True.
It's huge. Yeah. So speaking of this administration, there was a national security breach, leaked war plans via a Signal app.
I heard that.
Yeah.
So senior Trump administration officials accidentally included a journalist in a private Signal group chat containing confidential military plans for airstrikes in Yemen. High-level officials like Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz were involved. Signal is known for an end-to-end encryption, but this indicates that that no platform is foolproof against human error. Now, to my knowledge, I don't know too much about it, but I think this was leaked after the attack. But they're going after him hard. They're going after him, saying that it was irresponsible. It was this, it was that. But I want to make a point on that. Have you ever sent an email to somebody and wanted to include a mic and typed in that M and it automatically puts
somebody else,
puts that person in?
mic in?
I think that's all that happened. So mistakes happen, but any mistake that this administration makes right now
It's going to get blown.
is going to get tortured.
Absolutely.
It's, it's funny, when I read the story, I was like, man, that's like sending the accidental dick pic to your mom, Like,
Oh, God.
A journalist, dude.
Oh,
Like
that's never happened.
the worst
Right.
person that could have been involved
Right.
in that situation was involved.
And the thing is that it was, and who knows what the truth is too. Like, who knows, right?
Yeah.
They could have leaked it on purpose.
Yeah.
Something
There's
could
a couple of
there
things.
could be something behind it, right? But if you're going just based off of the story and say he made an honest mistake, I'm a fan of Hegseth, but if he made that mistake, he needs to be held accountable, regardless.
Own up.
And that's the big thing. Like, if you look at the Hillary emails and all that stuff, she was never held accountable for any of that stuff. Not one time.
She continued on in office or had
Right.
influence in office. She wasn't actually in office, but
She had her hand up the
She
fucking ass of
did.
somebody playing puppet.
yeah.
Did you see that whistleblower? She was a Democrat party. She gave a ton of money.
Yeah, she donated.
She gave a ton of money to the campaigns, and she went on the Sean Ryan podcast and gave the inside scoop, man, of that Democratic Party at the time, how it was running, who was really in charge, what was happening behind the scenes. And it was mind-blowing what she was saying, dude. Mind-blowing.
Just find all the stuff that they're finding right now and uncovering with all this fraud and all this money, like, and how long that's been going on. Yeah, that's just perfect indication of, like, people getting money and, donating money, and then that stuff's owned by somebody that's in the party, and it's, and it's been going on forever. Like, that's not a new thing.
Republican or
Right, so
Democrat.
Just politically.
Yeah.
It's been going on forever.
And there's
So
no
it's like-
accountability, and that's the
that's
top
the big thing,
of our country.
Right.
Boyle, that's the same thing with all of the, it's happening from the top and
Right.
it's dribbling down.
I hope that, and again, being a fan of the current administration and Hegseth, I hope that they hold him accountable and that he is, whatever needs to happen happens, because then that, for me, is just proof in the pudding that it doesn't really matter. Like, you made a mistake. Yeah, it's a mistake, but it's a costly mistake. If that text or email goes out at the wrong time to the wrong person,
Yeah.
like, that's a problem for this country. So, he needs to be held accountable. Something needs to happen,
Yeah. Some repercussion.
I hope it happens.
Yeah.
Remediation.
Because then they're holding true to what they are elected to do.
Yeah, it's a good point, because it's like, I don't really care what side you're on. Like, if you're on our team or the opposition's team, like, you got to be, there is consequences for a mess up like that.
Right.
That's a really good point. All right, let's take a quick commercial break to bring you our sponsor, Burns Roofing. I've been personal friends with Eric for over 20 years. He's an incredible stand-up businessman, And if you ever need anything regarding roofing in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, give them a call. They do honest, hard work, and he is my go-to whenever I need anything in roofing needs. How important is marketing in your business?
Yeah, it's always important, man. And it's
What kind of stuff are you doing for?
Social media stuff is huge. The SEO stuff is huge. We just brought on a new company to do a lot of that type of stuff for us. I think that social media, Google presence is really big, because
If you had a chart, how big would you say of a percentage social media is?
probably not a huge number,
Really?
not for me. So what I find is networking, right? Like you gotta understand that my demographic is builders. Like I'm going after builders that are 30 to 60 years old that are building houses, or architects in the same number. Those guys, handshakes and eye contact, so for me, that networking, like going out and meeting these guys, dude, I used to go to the websites, like town websites, right? Pull up building permits, pull up all the building permits that are happening in town. On the building permits, contractor, address, what's happening. And then we would go to those job sites. So if I see a frame going up, walk onto the job site. How you doing? I'm Frank LeBlanc. I own Seacoast Cabinet in Raleigh. Sure, you already have a kitchen designer, but I'd love to give you a shot.
Wow.
That's how I
Genius.
started the business.
So you're actually outfitting the entire kitchen from island to cabinets to everything.
Cabinets and countertops and
too?
hardware. Yep, that's it. But I'm not going to help you pick out flooring. I'm not going to help you pick out backsplash tile.
But you'll help them through that whole process of
Yes.
picking the design,
Yep.
creating.
Yep, that's all we do. Design kitchens. We do the cabinets, the countertops, and the hardware. We can help.
Yeah.
Talia.
We can
Yes.
help with everything else, right? Like, so I have builders now that like I'll design floor plans for. So I'll go into the house, I'll take measurements, because like a lot of contractors will go in and say, so say you're doing a full first floor renovation, right? They'll go in the house and say, all right, so we're going to take this wall down right here. We're going to shorten it up by about a foot. And then we're going to do your washer and dryer here. And then we're going to build your kitchen on this side. We'll put a window in over here. And they just write line items that like, all right, it's going to be this much for demo. It's going to be this much for framing. It's going to be this much for sheetrock. It's going to be this much for all the other trades, right? But they don't actually have like a fucking presentation. So they're just telling the customer what they're going to do and kind of where stuff's going to go, but there's nothing visual.
So does that help you, or does that hurt you in the long run because there's no measurements, there's nothing to go by?
I mean, no, because that's how everybody's been doing it forever.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, you do the demo, right? And then you have a conversation with the customer. Hey, is this wall short enough? Is it long enough? Is this going to be enough for your kitchen? Now that we're demoed, where do you want to put this window? They can have the conversations as the process happens, but there's nothing, if they're going out to 5 different contractors, there's nothing that they're presenting to show them exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So with
I
our
get it, 'cause
software,
I do the same thing. Yeah.
I can put together a floor plan, go and take measurements, show you existing floor plan, talk to the client and the contractor about what you want to do. And then within 2, 3, 4 hours, put together an entire first floor plan to show you exactly what that first floor is going to look like. It's not going to be a lot of detail. It's not going to be, lighting, layout, and exact measurements and stuff, but it's a presentation for you to show to your customer. Right now, contractors are up against these design build companies. Design build companies are blowing up because they have design aspect and they have the building aspect, and it's all in-house in one company. So what I'm trying to do is help some of these contractors that are not design build to compete with some of these design build companies without really putting too much time or effort in. Like, I'll design it and show you a floor plan, where stuff's going to go, that type of stuff. But I'm not going to spend 2 days on putting pictures on the wall and a cat in the corner and all this other stuff.
And
know
are
what I
you
mean?
helping them in hopes to get the job?
To get the job, right? So if I can help them get the job, then I get the kitchen automatically. So it's if I can do that as far as design, because we're already set up to design. I'm not set up to build. So I can't be a design build company, but I can help the build companies be a design build company.
Do you ever think about turning that into a service?
Yeah, it's what we're doing now.
But I mean, like helping contractors become a design contractor. So do you charge them a fee to train them on how to lay out the design and then build?
No. So what we'll do, the idea now is that, we will work with the contractor, do all the design work for them, charge them for the design for their initial proposal, right? So I just charge them hourly for me to put together that design work. They then have a presentation to give to the customer. Like right now, we're doing a $400,000 first and second floor renovation with a contractor. He has no presentation. So I put together a presentation for him. Now, in his proposal, he can go through that with the customer and show them that. So we'll offer the design services for him. I'm going to charge him, but if he goes to an architect or a design firm to do that, it's going to cost 10 to 15 grand. Pay me a couple bucks an hour. I'll do the design work
Okay.
for you, at least preliminary,
Got it.
so that you can get the job. And then if the customer wants to pursue that and wants more design work done, then we start charging the customer for
Got
the
it.
design. You know what I mean?
Got it.
But I'm just trying to help some of these guys land these jobs that are competing against these big design build
It
companies.
sounds like you can almost scale that though.
Yeah.
And
for
use
sure.
that, like, not even in your area, but use Instagram or Facebook like a platform in order to pull in a lot of these other builders
Yeah.
all across the country and kind of pitch them just like you did with me.
Yep.
And say, hey guys, I'll teach you how to do the design, and then you'll have the build on the back end.
Yeah.
Come with me. Let me do a 3-month course with you guys, and I'll teach you how to do the design.
Yep.
And then you'll be on your own, because it's my favorite saying in the world. One of them, it's like, you can teach a fisherman to fish, and to the point where you can get his own fish, or you can give him the fish. Which
Right.
one's more valuable?
Right.
Right. So it's almost like you're giving them a service that they'll always have,
Yeah.
and also benefit their company in the back end as well.
Right. But so the other thing too is the other way to look at that scaling that business is to hire the designers for them. I have the designers, right? Go out, get the work, go get the jobs, do all that stuff.
True,
Let me
right.
know when you're ready to design. I have a
Mm,
designer for you
there you
that will
go.
work for you.
There you go.
So, and now there's like softwares, right? Like I just did a class with this company called Render, design build company. During COVID, couldn't get fucking work because they couldn't go into people's houses. So they started having people like send pictures of the project, to send pictures of the house, and we'll design it for you based off of the pictures. They designed this software where you can now go in, and as long as you have LiDAR on your tablet or your phone, you scan the room, brings in all your measurements, all your doors, all your windows, everything. And then one click of a button, I can put that in my design software.
Hmm.
So now I can literally send a link to a customer, say, hey, scan your room if you have a phone with LiDAR, like iPhones and that type of stuff. Scan the room, send it over to me, and we'll have it designed to you within an hour.
So you have a whole team that does that specifically.
Yep.
So as you grow, essentially, you can really just build that team out.
Right. And what's sweet is that it helps both, right? So it helps us with the designers and getting work and all that type of stuff, but it also helps me on the kitchen sales.
Yeah, because you ship too, right?
Right. I can go anywhere in the country. So like Master Brand's the largest cabinet manufacturer in North America, one of the largest in the world. So they have shipping hubs in every state in the country. So like right now I have a job going in North Carolina. I got a couple going out in South Carolina. I have one in Florida.
Wow, cool.
So I can design it remotely, right? Send me the measurements or send me the video, whatever you have to do. We'll design it, and then I can order them, ship them to state, and then the shipping hubs have a home delivery service from that hub to the job site. So I can literally do it anywhere. As long as somebody's getting me measurements and getting me space, then we can design and order cabinets.
Now,
no
how
matter
are
what.
you getting those jobs out in South Carolina? And
Like a network, bro.
Yeah?
It's same old thing. Like the one going down in Florida right now, she's in one of my business networking groups. She owns a house in New Hampshire or Mass, and they have a second home in Florida. So we're shooting the shit, and she's like, "Oh, I wish you were down in Florida. Let me know what you need. I can get you down there."
Yeah.
So then she's like, "Oh my God, that's great." And we've already worked together. She already trusts me. So like that one worked out pretty well. I have a builder up here who has a sister that lives in South Park, North Carolina, which I guess is a pretty nice area. She's doing a full scale reno down there, and they can't find good contractors to save their life in the South.
Amazing.
So my buddy was like, dude, I'll go down to North Carolina and do that job. So he called me and was like, hey, I need a kitchen in North Carolina. Can we make that work? So I told him the same thing. So now we'll go down to North Carolina. We'll get the measurements. He'll get the job down there. He already has a couple of skilled guys that are willing to travel down to do the job. And then I'll just do the kitchen design and the sales
That's
side of
cool,
things.
man.
And
So you have boots on the ground essentially at the same while you're doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's, if you didn't, would it be hard to like build a custom like cabinets without actually seeing it, without actually being on site?
Yeah.
As long as
You
you
do
get the proper measurements,
I get measurements, photos, pictures, all that type of
LiDAR
stuff.
and all that stuff.
So
Yeah.
what I do now, right? Like one of my main parts of my jobs is that like I want my designers designing. The only time that they're making my company money is if they're designing. So anything else that they're doing outside of designing is costing money. So I'll go to job sites and I'll take measurements and take all the pictures, right? So we have like a checklist of things that we want to measure for. So I'll go to the house myself, meet with the client, figure out what cabinet line they want to be in, what finishes they want, what door styles they want, take all the measurements, take a shit ton of pictures, take a bunch of video, and then we use OneDrive, like a Microsoft product. I upload it all into OneDrive. We have a shared OneDrive folder. I share that with the designer with all the information. I scan the measurements that I take on my graph paper with my phone. I put that in there. And then they just take all of that stuff now and design. They don't even see the space. So like, what's the difference between doing that right here and doing that in South Carolina? You know?
Wow, you got a good system, man. Where can we find you on Instagram?
Well, Frank LeBlanc is my personal. Seacoast Cabinet is the cabinet shop, and then Handforge Podcast.
Well, there you go, man. Anybody in this market looking for cabinets, looking for any type of service like this, give Frank a call. I'm gonna link his stuff down in the description and tag him in all this stuff. But awesome stuff, man. I love it.
Yeah. Next thing that we've been talking about, it's gonna be kind of cool. So I'm bringing in an investor. I had a partner with the company.
Ooh, I love this stuff. What do we got?
It's lucky I didn't end up in a hole somewhere, but so had a partner, didn't work out. So he actually just finally agreed to a deal. So I'm bringing in an investor.
Is she buying them out or something?
Yeah. So the investor actually had a really cool idea of being like mobile. So like setting up like say a mobile design like a showroom almost in like a van, like a cargo van. Right. So like right now in some of the data research that I've done, 40 minutes is about as far as somebody wants to travel to come and touch cabinets. Right.
Definitely.
So they don't want to travel any further than that. There's plenty of kitchen and bath design companies. Right. So they don't want to really travel too far to like go and do all of that stuff. 40 minutes is kind of the threshold. So if I want to scale, it means I need a showroom every 40 minutes. Right. But if we could outfit a van, have the 10 top selling doors in each one of our cabinet lines, have the 20 most biggest sold hardware, have the 10 most popular countertop samples, set up a dual monitor in a little cargo van. I can drive out there.
Yeah.
Take my measurements,
go to the actual house,
get all our selections, get the finished selections, do the design.
It's like an Uber cabinet.
Right.
A lot of people
and then we go to the house, it's comfortable.
That's
like,
good.
They're going back to the houses. Like the lawyer we just spoke to, he's proposing that he wants to be the lawyer that comes to you, like a personal injury lawyer. So I mean, that seems to be a theme right now.
Yeah.
You know, people want
It's
their
convenience.
businesses to come
It's
to
convenience,
them.
Yeah.
Well, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like COVID scared a lot of people.
Yeah,
You know,
it
it made
did.
people like fucking sit in this little show. Like they don't want to leave their house.
Yeah.
You know, so they're more comfortable at home. If I show up, I got this great presentation, I got this cool van, got all the stuff. It's an experience,
Yeah.
right? Like that's huge.
Yeah.
Like, I used to work for Jordan's Furniture, right? I worked for them for 5 years. Elliot, who's the owner, he sold to Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway. You're doing something right if you catch the attention of him.
Absolutely.
Right?
Jordan's sold to Buffett.
Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway years
Berkshire.
ago.
Okay.
If you build a company that's successful enough to get their attention, you're doing something right. His number one thing was, we are not a furniture store. We are an experience. It's how he sold it. It's how he always wanted it to be. He had like 1,000 pillow fluffers. Like literally people walk around the show and just fluffing pillows.
Wow.
Like, you know, so like he that was his whole thing. Like if you go into a Jordan's Furniture and there's IMAX, there's the trapeze, there's the jelly beans, there's the Fuddruckers, he wants people to come in and have an experience. And we're working with that company. I would walk into houses that were like the 5th generation of buying furniture from Jordan's Furniture.
Wow.
You know, it's like if keeping 5 generations happy is a difficult thing in any kind of service industry.
yeah.
So like if, you know, he's doing something right. So if you can give that experience, right, and do something different that nobody else is doing, like it's, you know, it just sets you apart. Like there's plenty of kitchen and bath design companies. There's some that are cheaper than me. Like, you know, it's easy to find them. But like if you can set yourself apart, give someone a cool experience, you know, you're just doing something different.
What's really interesting about that is a lot of customers that I deal with that are going shopping for floors or tile or whatever. Whenever I leave the house, the first thing that they say is, all right, well, I guess I'm going shopping today.
Yeah.
I guess I got to go to 10 different places today and go pick out. Cause we never like to, like you, I'm not going to pick out your freaking floor. That's you. I've actually tried that before and it's always ended in a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what I wanted. That's not what I had in mind. And then you're just burning time.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea, man, because you're bringing them the product.
Yeah.
You're letting them have the ability to say, this is what I want. And you're actually giving them an opportunity to kind of see it near, you know,
sensory.
Right,
Like you touch
yeah.
it,
Well,
feel
finishes-
it, envision
And you're
it.
going to their
Finishes
house.
change like with
Yeah.
lighting. So like we
Yeah.
give people samples all the time and say, hey, before you set your heart on this, bring it home first.
Mm,
You know, alleviating all of that.
mm.
You know, and it's not, people don't want a million fucking selections, dude.
Yeah.
They want to narrow it down to 5.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to come in like with our custom line of cabinets, dude. Like you can change outside edge profile on the doors, inside edge profile. You can do raised panel, you can do flat panel. There's all these different things that you can do. People don't want that.
Yeah.
They want to see a door and be like, that's sick. They want to see a door on Instagram or on social media and be like, that's the door I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, having a showroom, having a brick and mortar business, it's important because some people do want to go out on the weekends, or they want to go get lunch and then stop by the cabinet showroom and pick out hardware and have that experience, right? So it's important, but not everybody wants that.
Yeah. It's
You know?
shying away from that.
And people are shying away from
Yeah.
that.
No, you're capitalizing on, you know, I always say that, you know, a great business starts with, you got a problem and then you got a solution to
Yeah.
that problem. And if you can find that, then you got a business.
Yeah.
What do you think of this idea? Ash, pull up Auralyte on Instagram, Auralyte. Did I ever tell you about Auralyte?
Why does that sound wicked familiar?
Okay, so it's a company that I'm involved in. I'm trying to get equity in it right now. I really want equity in it right now.
Wink.
Put it out
there. Maybe even 3-4%, who knows? But no, it's a really good friend of mine who owns this company. I've helped him out in the beginning with hooking them up with the right people, and he's done a great job with the back end stuff. And it's kind of at a point right now where it's like he's doing a lot of motion, and I'm kind of getting like, he's going so fast that I'm not really getting filled in with everything, so I'm not able to help him as much as I would like. But this is a product to where you have a recessed light, right? So it's a recessed light with a magnet attached.
Fucking brilliant.
What do you think?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
So
I'd like to know, like, I'd want to see how the lighting is.
once the shade is up,
Once the shade is up.
yeah,
Because that would make a huge difference. But
dude, he owns the patent. We everything. We have everything locked in. We got a great investor. Look at how cool this thing is.
I love that. I
Yeah.
think that is such a brilliant idea.
Great
So
product.
I got a buddy. I actually had him on the podcast too. His name's Robbie. He owns a company called Stallgrid, and they do like home automation, lighting, like the blinds, and like, you know, they are like tech based. Like they do all the stuff they do is tech, and they're at like the cutting edge of like all the new stuff. Like he talks about stuff on the podcast, and I'm like, bro, that sounds like
Yeah.
crazy shit to me. But
yeah,
I feel like he's like a tech guy. Like he would love this
yeah.
stuff.
Let's have. I would.
I feel like companies like his, and there's more of those companies. Like you have those like the AV companies who used to do like all the like audio stuff. Like they'd set up surround sound, they'd set up home theaters.
Yeah, like your Circus Cities and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they're
Oh,
starting to get
Circuit
into
City,
like
wow.
these like home automated, like when you walk in, the lights come on and you set the certain temperatures and all these different things.
Mhm.
Those companies are starting to transition into that type of stuff. I feel like those types of company would be huge to like associate with, market with, talk
Definitely.
to, network with, because those are the kinds of people that would be able to sell this type of product.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. So my
Mhm.
position in this company in the beginning, and it was basically the networker. Like I hooked him up with the right people and found who was interested, and you know, kind of get everything moving. But like I said, he's been doing a great job behind the scenes, and he's moving so fast that you know, I don't hear about a lot of things until they're already done.
Uh,
But I'm still always rooting for him, pushing for it, and when there is an opportunity for me to help out more, I'm gonna do my best with it. But yeah, I think it's an incredible product, dude. I think he's got something big.
you know, it'd be huge too for him. This is where my mind goes, right? So the home shows.
Yeah. He went to
Yeah.
one. He went to one the other day.
In
It,
New
it,
York.
it was in New York. It was called, and he actually got first place. He got best product of the show.
Love
And he
that.
went with this little suitcase that he made that he wheels around, and he's able to um, basically lift up a panel to where the recessed light is right here, and you can change the shade.
Huh.
And then when you're done with it, you can pack it back up in the suitcase and roll it away.
So awesome, dude.
He's super smart with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was called, Ash, I'm going to send you a picture right now that I just want you to pull up because I want to show him where it is, all the stuff that he signed recently, and like how all over the place he is. LEDucation in New York. And he FX voted Orlight the best show, the best product at that show.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah.
So where is he at now with the product? Is he actively trying to sell it, or is he?
So good question. So he's got the product made. He's got the discs. They're being manufactured. We have 10,000 units being sent over to our shop right now. He signed on with a bunch of distributors all across the country who are going to push the brand.
Yeah.
So essentially, they're going to get a commission based off of all the lights that they sell. But the product is ready. It's a working product, and it's in the development stage right now. So
Interesting.
we have 10,000 that are done, the wafers. Right now, we're kind of just working on what shades we're going to end up pushing, because we can go 100 different ways with this.
Right.
You know, like stuff like this. Perfect example. If you want something like that, but you want to take it down really quick and put something else up, you have the ability to do that. Yeah, that's all the regions that he's in right now.
Sick.
So those are all the registered agents by state and country. Look, he's all over the place. So he's on the phone daily with distributors all over the world saying, "Hey, do you want to carry my product?" And from what I'm hearing, everybody is loving it. And I think he's going to get to a point where he's just going to end up. Somebody's going to be like, you know,
We
a
want
company
that.
like Halo is going to drop in and be like, "I'll give you
Right.
50 mil for
Yeah,
that design."
LG will come in.
That-
or
that's what's
gonna
something,
end up
happening.
Samsung come in
Because
and
it's such a
grab it.
great and unique product
Yeah.
that he has a patent for that nobody's doing right now, that
Yeah.
doesn't exist. That's a product, man. That's
Yeah,
a
that's
product.
cool.
Yeah, and
I'd
he's
love
got-
to know, like, so for me, I always think like market research, like have 10 shades and then have people come in and put them on and see which ones they like the most and like why.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah. That was awesome. I just want to go over a couple of things and then we'll kind of wrap this thing up. I thought there was some interesting stuff going on in Rhode Island. One of them, Rhode Island's assault weapons ban debate. I guess there's a debate going on right now where they're trying to ban assault weapons in Rhode Island, see how far they get with that. So Rhode Island is debating legislation to ban assault-style weapons. With vocal support and opposition, Governor Dan McKee backs the bill and is citing public safety. Rhode Island has a history of civic action that influences broader national policies. And the discussion is, can Rhode Island stance sway national gun control debates all across the country? Do you think a state as small as Rhode Island bringing up this topic can get persuasion across the country to actually have this discussion to where we can start banning assault style weapons? And is it bannable? Do you think we should be banning assault weapons?
I mean, you know, anything that infringes on those rights, I think is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that's who I am. It's what I believe. You know, there was a reason that, you know, we have that in our constitution. And any progress that they make on banning any kind of weapon like that is progress in the wrong direction. You know, regardless of it, if it's assault style or whatever. At the end of the day, I was fucking 13 years old and came up with a loaded handgun, bought it illegally or got it illegally. It's never going to stop the criminals from getting firearms.
Yeah.
You know,
And handgun or assault weapon, they do the same thing.
right?
Yeah.
They do the same thing. It's not like a semiotic. I think a lot of people that don't have experience with weapons think that an AR is this machine that just is a nonstop.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing as a pistol. It's just a bigger caliber.
Yeah, and they think like Schwarzenegger with the, you know, and the Predator with the, you know, the
Right.
barrel gun and the
Yeah.
belt fed. You know, it's just, and that's the thing. It's a lack of understanding. It's a lack of knowledge. You know, and it's easy to say assault weapon, like it just makes everyone scared. But there's a reason that we have that in our constitution, and
Yeah.
that should not change.
No,
and
I'm
any
with you on that.
progress, and if it did pass in Rhode Island, I think it would spread like cancer. You know, and that's why there's companies like the NRA that are like, you know, ahead of that and trying to stop those types of things, because the people that are associated and the members of that are, there's a lot of them, you know, so they have a lot of persuasion in those decisions and trying to help stop those types of things from catching fire. Cause, you know, it's like anything else. If it catches fire, it can spread,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And especially in a place like Rhode Island, Democrat area.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree with Frank on this one, because that's what makes America way different than Dubai. Is they do not have the freedom to protect themselves at the end of the day,
Right.
and we do. So, like you were saying, it's the only ignorance that keeps people from knowing the difference between an assault weapon and a regular handgun or weapon or any
Right.
sort. So it's just one step backwards if we take away any type of self-protection.
Yeah. Going back to blue collar, what do you guys think the percentage of the U.S. workforce is employed by blue collar jobs right now?
Oh, percentage nationally?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I looked at the answer, so I can't even say it.
I want to say, I don't know, 40%?
13%.
Damn.
Yeah. 13% of the US workforce is employed in blue collar jobs. So while automation and AI is dominating headlines, blue collar jobs like HVAC, plumbing, and construction still make up some of the backbone of American economy. And many of them can't be outsourced or replaced by machines. But at the end of the day, it's slowly being driven in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And now they only hold a 13% dominance in the actual workforce.
I mean,
It feels like more.
it feels like more. I thought I was lowballing it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it just shows that there's a good opportunity there, right? There's two avenues that you can take when you're a high school kid. You know, go to college or you can get a job. You know, I feel like those blue collar jobs are such a good place to be and to go because there's a lot of money to be made and there's not a lot of people coming in. You know, I remember doing installs, renovating kitchens when I had my tool belt on and I was swinging a hammer. You know, we would be the youngest crew on the job site by 30 years and there was nobody behind us, you know, and it was like, and it's scary.
Mhm.
So you think about electricians and plumbers and skilled craftsmen, you know, skilled carpenters, they're just fading out more and more and more, which, and the demand's not going anywhere. We still need those people.
So that means the quality of the work is just going to get worse and worse.
Worse and worse, or it gives the opportunity for the person that does take pride in that work and takes integrity to excel and get better and be better.
Mhm.
You know, like it'll flush out some of the shit hopefully and bring in some really good competitive qualified trades guys.
Yeah.
And there's a really good way to make money. You know, there's a lot of that work out there, and as the demand comes in, the price goes up. Because what else are you going to do? You need a licensed electrician. If you run out of those, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to charge your cell phone. You're not going to be able to watch Instagram. None of this stuff is going to work without that.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think that's why I love being in the HVAC industry, because there's so much opportunity.
Yeah.
But the one downfall is that we cannot find
Help.
at all. Help, we can find help, but they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Their work ethic is subpar. And the guys that do know what they're doing are usually taken working for another company and they're getting an insane amount of money, like almost like equity position money. And you can't compete with that. So, you know, a lot of companies like myself that are newer, we're in a position to where we have to hire lower, train them up. So it's kind of like an investment in the beginning where we're spending more money in the beginning in hopes that they're going to end up becoming what we hope they become
Right.
in order to build our company. So I'm noticing that a lot of companies that are new, like myself, they're taking that hit in the beginning in order to get to where we want to be
Yeah.
eventually by training them the right way.
It's hard though.
Yeah.
You know, you take those guys in or you take those kids in, you train them for 3 years and then they get a job with one of those bigger companies making a ton of money. And it's like, you know, yeah, you didn't lose money as a company, but you wasted a whole shit ton of time, you know? Like that's what I found in having the woodworking business. Bring guys in, train them for a year, and then they were off and running somewhere else.
Yeah.
You
Or
know, it's
trying
just
to start their own business.
trying to start their own thing, right? It
Yep.
was just a revolving door of that, you know,
Yeah.
and it's tough, man. And that's the number one topic of conversation on my podcast is finding help, you know, and I try to bring in like recruiters and talk to a lot of different people who've done different things. A couple of years ago, actually at JLC, when I went down, I went to like a recruitment class. I have another recruitment class this year, just trying to find different ways. And like I ended up making a video, doing a fully produced video of like my designers talking about working for us and all this type of stuff because like there's data that shows that helps, you
Yeah.
know, and like,
Yeah.
and it has, like, I've had a couple of people that we've hired that have seen the video and like, oh, that was cool. Like, you know, and it kind of sets you apart a little bit, but what else do you do? It's so hard, man. And it's hard to find people that want to work. It's hard to find people. It's hard to find that loyalty.
Yeah, you have to build up. That's what Mark does really well. Mark Mason, he has a HVAC company where he has like a family based environment to where it's like, oh, I want to go work for that company.
Created a
He
culture.
created that culture.
That culture is, and that's key, man.
Yeah.
That's so important. And I think that like setting up a company like a video game, so have certain levels. Because at the end of the day, right, I could give you $1 million a year to do something that's worth $50,000 a year, right? You're happy. You're making more money than anybody else doing what you're doing. But in a couple of years, you're going to want more money. You could stage it like a video game, and have positions and have certain things that you are constantly working towards. If you play like a Modern Warfare or any of these video games, there's always like, you have to do this, this, and this to get this. You have to, and then once you get this, you have to do this, this, and this to get this.
Yeah.
If you can stage it and kind of build the company that way and have the positions built that way, I feel like it keeps people engaged, but at the same time, I've tried my best, and I still have a hard time keeping help.
That's how the military is stacked too.
Right.
Like they give you certain goals to reach until you get to your next pay grade, and then you get this big old, you get the trophy and you get this and that. You feel like, oh, I made it. Now I just need to get that next strike.
Yeah.
So they do it stacked like the video game concept too.
And that's a great, and honestly, it started with the military. Like that military process is a very good business process.
Absolutely.
And that's how it started. It started with the military and doing it that way. It's just, like everything else, fucking time. Like, how much time do you put into creating all of those levels, and like, what does that look like? And you have data behind it, and is the company making money? If you're doing it this way, just
treat it like a video game, man. Like you said, it's a big video game. Yeah. But Frank, listen, thank you for coming on. I want to give a shout out one more time. Where can people go find you? Your website, your socials?
Yep. So it's Frank LeBlanc on Instagram, Seacoast Cabinet on Instagram, the Hand Forge Podcast on Instagram. We are seacoastcabinetne.com. We're on all the social media stuff, so you can find us anywhere.
Awesome, man. And we look forward to your new venture coming up. That's
appreciate it.
I want to keep tabs on that, man. It sounds very exciting.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, man.
Cool.
As long as we can find the help.
All right, man. Mindset Radio Podcast. Everybody, thanks for watching.